Hey folks, we recently got updates that the hurricane season in the Atlantic this year is expected to be above normal. Now, according to NOAA, they're expecting 14 to 21 named storms, 6 to 11 hurricanes, with 2 to 5 of those being major storms, say category 3 to 5. So how does this impact your cruise travel plans? Now, number one, you got to be flexible. You need to understand that during hurricane season, if a storm is going to impact a port or an area of the Caribbean, the ships are simply not going to go there. The ships generally stay at least 100 miles away from the storm. So you may miss some ports. You may change some ports. Your Eastern Caribbean could become a Western Caribbean cruise, or your Western Caribbean could become an Eastern Caribbean cruise. It just depends on what the weather is doing out there. So you need to be flexible during hurricane season. We cruise during hurricane season all the time. Our anniversary is in September, so we're always on a ship during hurricane season. Now, the biggest impact to you will be if the home port is threatened by the storm. You know, Port Canaveral, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, we got New Orleans, Galveston. If any of those ports are threatened by the storm, especially on the day that you're supposed to come in or the next cruise is supposed to go out, cruise lines have a couple of options. One, they may bring the ship in a day early to get everybody off the ship and then send the ship back out. More often than not, they tend to hold the ship out at sea. So the people who are on the ship, they're going to get an extra day, maybe a couple of days on the ship. We actually look forward to that. Like, we hope for that, because you don't get charged for your cabins on those extra days. You still got to pay for everything on the ship, but that's called free cruising. So we actually look forward to that. And then the last resort, which they really don't like to do because there's so many logistics and travel issues with that, sorry, Escape, is to send the ship to a different port to disembark the passengers. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of travel issues with that, because if your car is at the original port, now you got to get yourself there. You got to rearrange all your travel plans. So that is like a last resort. They probably would not do that unless the home port actually gets damaged by the hurricane and they simply cannot come in. But in general, cruising during hurricane season is not that big a deal. You just have to understand things may change. We cruised on a 10-night cruise during Hurricane Irma, which was a massive Cat 5 storm. The Celebrity Equinox just simply changed the itinerary. Instead of going into the Caribbean, we went straight south to Curacao to basically get under the storm. And then we essentially followed it back, and believe it or not, we hit every single port except 2, just because they were completely decimated and we couldn't go. But it was some of the best weather we've ever had on a cruise ship. So keep an eye on the weather during hurricane season, but don't completely freak out if there's a storm out in the Caribbean. The ships will move. You'll get a slightly different cruise than the one you originally planned on, but you should still have a nice, pleasant cruise. Hey folks, I'm Walter, your independent travel advisor, and if we can help you at all with your land or sea adventures, please do reach out. Have an awesome day, everybody.